and welcome to my new lecture. In this lecture, I am going to talk about topic 29.6 of the Fundamentals of Physics book by Halliday Resnick Walker, current carrying coil as a magnetic dipole. Along with, I would be discussing topic 32.3 induced magnetic fields. Then I would be discussing topic 32.4 known as displacement current, and finally we would reach at Maxwell's equations, which is topic 32.5 of the book. Now first of all, let's look into topic 29.6. Current carrying coil as a magnetic dipole. This is first topic of today's discussion. So far we have discussed the magnetic field due to a long straight wire and the magnetic field due to a solenoid and toroid. Now we would focus our attention to a coil which carries a current. Let's say this is a coil, right, which carries some current I, right. Since if we place this current carrying loop in a magnetic field B, then obviously due to its rotation it produces a torque, which is a vector quantity that should be equals to mu cross B, where mu is magnetic dipole moment and this should be equals to NIA, where N is the number of turns, I is the current that is flowing through this coil, and A is the area of this coil, and B is the magnetic field that is applied. The direction of mu is given by curled straight right hand rule. Grasp the coil so that fingers of your right hand curl around it in the direction of the current. Your extended thumb then points in the direction of dipole moment. Let's say since the current is flowing in anti-clockwise direction in this case, so this thumb indicates the direction of this magnetic dipole moment, which is out of the plane of paper. Now as we have discussed mu, now we would be discussing the magnetic field of the coil. To find the magnetic field, it doesn't has the symmetry that we can use Ampere's law to find its magnetic field. So we have to use the Biot-Savart law that we discussed in our earlier discussions and find out the magnetic field due to this coil. Let's say I want to find the magnetic field due to this coil at a point Z along the perpendicular axis to this current carrying loop. So my magnetic field, which is dependent upon this distance from the center of the coil, I am considering a single loop of the coil, that would be given as B of Z would be equals to, using Biot-Savart's law, mu naught I r square over 2 r square plus z square raised to power 3 by 2, and this coil has radius r, and z is the distance from the center of the coil to the point of our observation. So this result gives me the magnetic field due to this coil. One should not confuse this mu naught with mu. This is magnetic dipole moment and this is permeability of free space. The direction of B is same as magnetic dipole moment's direction, right, of this loop. And for those points when this z is greater than r, means the radius of the loop is very less than this point of observation from the center of the loop, then we can ignore this r square in denominator with respect to this z, because this would be a very small quantity as compared to this one, and we are left with the result when we ignore this r square would to this z square, and this would be cancelled out and this remains as 2z cube. This would be my magnetic field when this point z is this axial distance where we are observing the magnetic field is very large as compared to the radius of this loop. Now if I multiply it with pi and divide it with pi, and this pi r square is now the area of this circular loop, and since I included a single loop of this coil, and for n loops B of z would be mu naught over 2 pi nia over z cube. Now as I already given here that this magnetic dipole moment is equals to nia, so I can substitute over here this value that B of z would be mu naught over 2 pi magnetic dipole moment of z cube. This would be my magnetic field due to the coil with n turns. So we can say that a current carrying coil is used as a magnetic dipole due to two obvious reasons. One of the reason is that it has torque when it is produced in an external magnetic field, and secondly due to its intrinsic magnetic field that we have calculated right here, and we can say that for a loop carrying current like this is current I, it behaves as a magnetic dipole. Let's say this is a magnetic dipole associated with it north and south pole, such that the magnetic field lines would be like this, right? And like this one, and the direction of mu would be in this direction. So does the direction of this magnetic field. Moving to our next topic, that is topic of the chapter 32 and section 3, which is induced magnetic field. From the discussions in chapter 30th of the book, and recalling into your mind the Faraday's law of induction, you know that a changing magnetic field or changing magnetic flux produces electric field, which is given mathematically in the form surface integral of E or the integral closed integral of E dot ds is equals to minus rate of change of magnetic flux minus d phi b by dt. This is known as Faraday's law of induction, in which E is the electric field and phi b is magnetic flux. This law states that changing magnetic flux induces electric field. Symmetry, which is often very common in physics, the question comes to mind: does the changing electric flux produces magnetic field? This question comes to mind. Can the changing magnetic flux d phi by dt produces induced magnetic field? The answer is yes. This minus would be ignored. It produces induced magnetic field in the form B dot ds, and for the reason to make it the dimensions equivalent, this would be equals to mu naught epsilon naught d phi E by dt, where phi E is electric flux and B is induced magnetic field. This is another form of induction, and this is known as Maxwell's law of induction. One thing that you see in this relationship and in this relationship, this has got a negative sign and this has got a positive sign. This negative sign is due to Lenz's law, right? And this positive sign indicates that the electric field and the induced magnetic field have opposite direction when they are produced in this situation. And when you see the dimensions of this epsilon naught d phi E by dt, you see that this represents a current, right? The rate of change of electric flux times epsilon naught, this quantity represents the current. See, epsilon naught phi E would be EA, and if I see the units epsilon naught is given by Coulomb square per Newton meter square, and E is, and I have to include d by dt over here. This d by dt would be 1 over second, E would be volt per meter into A would be meter square. This meter square would get cancelled, and this, and if I represent this E rather than volt per meter to be in the form Newton per Coulomb, this is another form because F is equals to QE, and we can say that E is equals to F over Q, that would be Newton per Coulomb. So if I represent this E not by volt per meter, rather by Newton per Coulomb, then this would be cancelled, and this would be cancelled, and this would be Coulomb per unit time. This would be the units of current, ampere. So I can say that this epsilon naught d phi E by dt has got the units of current. Now let's see in our first next section what does this represents. This represents turns out to be amperes Maxwell law. Now we have written the B dot ds to be equals to mu naught times, this can also be a current, and I can say this equation to be B dot ds to be mu naught. Since this has got the units of current, I can say this is my current I. Later I would call this with some other name, or you can say mu naught epsilon naught d phi E by dt. But by Ampere's law we have already studied that B dot ds is equals to mu naught times the current enclosed. These are two different equations that we have found from our results. So combining these two results, I can form the Ampere-Maxwell law to be equals to B dot ds should be equals to mu naught times the current enclosed, that was original Ampere's law, plus this term which is mu naught epsilon naught d phi E by dt, that appears due to Maxwell's law of induction. So this is my Ampere's Maxwell law. Note, when there is a current flowing through the wire and there is no change in electric flux, then this term would be zero, and you only have equation of this one. And similarly, when there is no current flowing through some wire and there is change in electric flux, then this term would be zero, like the case of the charging of a capacitor. So this is the combined form of Ampere's law and Maxwell laws of induction in the form Ampere's Maxwell law. Next we focus our attention to the topic 32.4 which is related with displacement current, right? I coined out a term and said that the epsilon naught d phi e by dt has the same unit as that of current, and this current is actually known as I sub of d, or displacement current. And Maxwell contributed in this form to introduce the displacement current in Ampere's law. The Ampere's law, which was originally given as d dot ds to be mu naught times the current enclosed, and the term that added to it was mu naught the displacement current that is enclosed. Now this is Ampere's Maxwell law. To find this displacement current, let's take the example of the charging of a capacitor. Let's consider two circular capacitors, and the current I is flowing through this capacitor, and the displacement current due to this positive and negative coil, this would be my displacement current that is flowing through this capacitor. Now we know that the electric field due to capacitors is Q over epsilon naught A, that you can find in electrostatics portion, electric field due to parallel capacitors, and Q would be in this case given by as Q would be equals to epsilon naught times AE. Now to find the current, I would take the derivative on both sides of this equation. dq by dt would be my epsilon naught dEA times dt, and this is actually EA is my electric flux. So this would be epsilon naught d phi E by dt. Now this is my, on the left hand side is my current I, and this represents the displacement current. I would be equals to ID when we are taking the case of the charging of the capacitor. As I already told you that since the charging of the capacitor doesn't has charge enclosed in it, so we only take this form, and so the displacement current would be equals to the actually current that is flowing through this capacitor. The last topic of today's discussion is Maxwell's equations. Maxwell actually introduced these four equations in the form of Maxwell equations, and these laws, some of these are very familiar to you, and you have already used them in this electricity and magnetism. First one is Gauss's law, which is given as E dot dA to be equals to charge enclosed per unit epsilon naught. This is first Maxwell's equation, which is known as Gauss's law, and it relates the electric flux, this is electric flux, to the net enclosed charge. And the second one is B dot dA to be equals to 0. This is also known as Gauss's law for magnetism. Or there is another name given to it, that magnetic monopole does not exist. It relates that net magnetic flux to the net enclosed magnetic charge. Since there is no magnetic charge, so it is equals to 0. The net magnetic flux is equals to 0. Next one is Faraday's law of induction, that is a changing magnetic flux produces induced electric field. This is known as Faraday's law of induction that we discussed today. And the last one is Ampere's Maxwell law, which is B dot ds to be equals to mu naught epsilon naught d phi e by dt plus mu naught times the current enclosed. Or this one is displacement current and enclosed current. This relates induced magnetic field to changing electric flux and to the current. Now let's do numericals related with our today's discussion. In this numerical, induced magnetic field at a central radial distance 6 mm from the central axis of a circular parallel plate capacitor is 2 into 10 raised to power minus 7 Tesla. The plates have a radius 3 mm. At what rate dE by dt is the electric field between plates changing? Now using the relationship, since we have a uniform magnetic field, I can write B into ds to be equals to mu naught epsilon naught d E by dt, and I can write A over here. This B and ds would be, since it's a circular parallel plate, this ds would be 2 pi into r, and this would be divided by mu naught epsilon naught A, which would be pi r square. So dE by dt would be 2b. Pi would be cancelled by this pi, and mu naught epsilon naught times the r. So I know this magnetic field which is given. Should know the permeability of free space, permittivity of free space, and the radius. So you can calculate the rate of change of electric field using this expression. Hopefully you have understood all these different topics. I would be back soon with a new lecture. Thank you all for your time.